Well, let's re-begin. My name is Mark Troen. I'm on the faculty of the Masters in Real Estate Development and Urbanism program here at the university. And we're going to give you a very brief presentation. It'll take about a minute if we can get those slides up for that first slide. We have in front of you here actually our team, our student team, which actually began and has now for the fourth year in a row conducted our South Florida Real Estate Sentiment Survey. These are the leaders of tomorrow, and I'll happily introduce them to you. I do want to say one thing, though, that we're really pleased to have Integra Realty Resources to be our sponsor again. There's Anthony Graziano, CEO. He's just going to stand by the side right here while we're doing our brief presentation, but we gave him a little promo as well. So this year, we focused on what we call the post-pandemic era. At least we hope we get there, or the endemic era. And we have a number of key findings. And we're going to ask that you actually read our report. I have a QR code and a link at the end of our brief presentation. Because this year, we found out that the sentiment of people like you who participated in the survey is really interesting. We had over 1,000 people who we asked, 190 responses, of which 140 were statistically valid. And that means that those people actually finished the survey. So we could use their information as well. So I want to make sure you know who the team is. And over to my left here, we have first Patrick Jones. And then next we have Omar Mahani, who stands next to him. And then next to him is actually Michael Parrott. We move on to Garrick Donnelly. Then we have Sarah Madali. And finally, Alvaro Otero Rodriguez. And I want you to give them a hand for what they've done. So those of you who have your smartphones here, if you can aim up at the screen, if you want to click on that QR code, take a picture, that report is now available on the Real Estate Impact website. And we've talked about a lot of really interesting things, and I think you'll find our report fascinating, and we hope that you read it and again participate in our survey again next year. So that's our brief introduction. I'm going to bring Jay Masterman up, and he's going to introduce our next panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're trying to get people in here. It's a little tough, but we had a little bell. It's not enough for real estate people. They need more than that. Thank you all for being here. And what's really amazing is having this on campus, Chuck, that we all talked about how excited we were about that. It's my pleasure to introduce our next panel, which will explore alternative building solutions, a timely topic that ties directly into today's theme. With our moderator and panelists, this is sure to be a dynamic conversation that explores exciting opportunities for reimagining the future of home building as the post-pandemic horizon comes into view. I'm delighted to introduce our panel moderator, Eric Fader, the leader of LENx, which drives a focused strategy around technology and innovation at Lennar. Based in Miami, Lennar has been building homes since 1954. As one of the nation's leading home builders, Lennar is committed to leveraging their influence and nearly 7 years of experience to best-in-class tech solutions that reflect people's modern appetite for seamless, frictionless, and engaging customer experiences. LENx drives a focused strategy with Lennar to integrate technology solutions across home building industry. As president of LENx, Eric's mission is to infuse these tech solutions into the way we build homes and into the way people acquire and live in a home. Eric has been instrumental in helping source, structure, execute investments for Lennar that have redefined the landscape of real estate technology with a portfolio now of over 40 investments, including Icon and Veev, who are on today's panel with us, as well as other distinguished speakers. Eric is past chairman of the Miami Dolphins Challenge Cancer and is currently a member of the board of Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center at the University of Miami. Eric is the ideal person to navigate the meaningful conversation. And without further ado, Eric Fader, and thank you, panelists.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you, everyone. I don't think everyone heard that. Can you do that again, Jay? Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for being here. Thank you to the University of Miami for putting together this amazing event and for asking us to join. Before I get started introducing my friends here, I thought I'd take a minute. It's interesting, today, most of you who drove came probably by way of Miller Drive, which close to 70 years ago, Leonard Miller and Stuart, who's here today, told me this, assembled a piece of property with 40 home sites, and there's no connection between Leonard Miller and Miller Drive, and was looking for a partner to help develop it, and he crossed paths with Arnold Rosen. So Leonard Miller and Arnold Rosen, some years later, that was the early beginnings of Lennar, Leonard and Arnold, and here we are nearly 70 years later. It all started right here, so it's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to talk about innovation in and around home building. You know, Lennar is very passionate about technology and being innovative and on the leading edge of innovation. Together with Stuart, I'm very fortunate to head our LENx group, which drives our innovation strategy and technology. We're constantly thinking about how to improve the journey of buying a home, how we build our homes, which we'll certainly dig into today with this panel, and how our customers, homeowners live in our homes. We're not a technology company. We'd like to be, but that's not the case. So we make it our business to find best-of-breed technologists, technology companies, disruptors, innovators, to help us reimagine how we do things. So today we have an example of two of our three portfolio companies. After today, I don't know, Ken, maybe you'll be the third. Today we're talking about alternative building solutions and how do we reimagine how we build our homes. So to my left, starting in alphabetical order, we have Jason Ballard. Jason is the co-founder and CEO of Icon. I won't steal his thunder, but you'll get to know his New York accent here in a minute. And then we have Amit Haller. Amit is the co-founder and CEO of Veev, another one of our portfolio companies. You'll get a sense of his British accent in a minute. And then we have Kent Smuts. Kent is the president of Renco USA, which is located here in South Florida. Jason, Austin, Texas. I should mention Amit is from San Francisco. Interesting tidbit on these guys. Amit is the inventor of Bluetooth, which is pretty interesting. And congratulations to Jason, just closed a $200 million round at a $1.8 billion valuation, give or take. So that's pretty impressive. So I'll let each of you take a couple minutes to introduce yourself, and then we will play a short video on your companies. So Jason, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'm Jason Ballard, co-founder CEO of Icon. Icon's a construction technologies company, most notably at this time known for construction scale 3D printing. But the big thesis is that it's time for the construction industry to join the digital robotic revolution that has benefited almost every other industry on earth. Modern methods of construction are not meeting the demands of the modern world. And so we're going to have to think of some new ways to do things. And I think in the future, neighborhoods, villages, like dare I say cities, will be built by robots and drones. And that future will be built faster, more efficiently, more affordably, with a lot more design freedom. And we're trying to develop that technology. Of special note for this conference, and just something fun for you guys to imagine on the way, the architectural design languages and vernaculars that will emerge in response to these innovations are just as exciting to me as almost anything else we could talk about. All of our current architectures were developed with the tools and technologies of the times in which they arose. And so I think it's not just simply, can you 3D print that house over there that I'm used to? It's about what new things emerge and are made possible when you really do change paradigms. And so looking forward to talking about this with all of you today, and thanks for having me.
And now, Icon's video.
Oh boy.
Yeah, thank you, Jason.
No.
There's a video.
There's a video.
Are we having a technical difficulty? Anyone? We're going to play the Icon video. Spent a lot of time on this.
So before I hand
Okay.
over to Amit, a small little note about that video. Those were, just for some context, that was a project from about 2 years ago, and those were the first 3D printed houses for sale at market rates in America, and they were the first 3D printed houses to get mortgages on them. So it was like a fun kind of breakthrough project for us, where we sort of went through from like small prototype, maybe this will work, maybe people will live in these one day, they're like, those are all sold, occupied, et cetera. So that's what that was a video of.
Okay, Amit, and when Amit's finished, we're going to play his video. Cue the video. All right.
Hi, Amit Haller, CEO and co-founder of Veev. At Veev, we took a very unique approach of thinking about the home as the ultimate consumer product out there. It's the largest, it's the most used, it's obviously the most expensive. Now, once we start to think about the home as a product, we start to think very differently about how to produce it. So we are much more shifting away from construction or off-site construction type of concept into productization, into elements, into modules that actually can be assembled very quickly on site. What we do at Veev are it's a panelized system where our walls are fully finished and cladded, all MEP and everything inclusive in those walls shipped to the field and actually being connected one to another, pretty much like Lego components with plug-and-play system, and doesn't require any skilled labor or any trades, basically, are not required in the field. So that's about us at Veev.
And Ken, your turn.
Hey folks, my name's Ken Smuts. I'm the president of Renco USA. I'm thrilled to be here, and I want to thank University of Miami and Lenore for including Renco on this panel. For the first time in my career, I've been involved in something truly innovative, I believe, something that can help solve the housing crisis in the United States. And it's an enormous market, total addressable market for 1,600,000 housing starts a year. There's enough there for everybody. So Renco was invented. Renco stands for Renewable Composites. It was invented by a Turkish-American businessman and entrepreneur, Engin Yasil, who co-founded the company in 2012 with Tom P. Murphy, Jr., who is also the CEO and founder of Coastal Construction. And they then invited in myself as president, and Patrick Aaron Murphy is also our former congressman and is involved with governmental relations and external involvement. So Renco's a state-of-the-art, fully composite structural building system. It's made from recycled plastics, recycled glass, calcite, suspended in polymers. And it provides a new alternative to erecting structures other than wood or concrete or steel. We're fully approved under the International Building Code, International Residential Code, Florida Building Code, through Category 5 hurricane zones. So with that, if you could play the video.
I just want to say one word to you. Just one word.
Yes, sir.
Are you listening?
Yes, I am.
Plastics.
Exactly how do you mean?
There's a great future in plastics. Think about it. Will you think about it?
Yes, I will.
Enough said. That's a deal. Think about it. Will you think about it?
Yes, I will.
Enough said. That's a deal.
Okay. So a little visual on what each of these companies are doing. So home building clearly has not significantly changed in arguably the last 100+ years. We may no longer swing a hammer. We may have a nail gun these days. We are ripe for disruption. Old school business. Tech and innovation, for the most part, have not hit. This is the new frontier, call it. I'd like to ask each of you, how do you see your technology changing the home building industry today? And let's start with you, Ken, since you went last. Why don't you go first?
We see one of the biggest issues in the industry today as a lack of skilled labor and a lack of labor in general. The beauty of our product is it's pre-manufactured in a factory setting to exact tolerances. In fact, our shop drawings that come out have no dimensions on them. You just have to plug and play, follow the blocks, and it can be installed with unskilled labor. So for a much lesser rate and for an easier installation, you can get construction built and thus help reduce costs, improve the speed, improve performance to any developer that's out there, and ultimately work to help solve the housing shortage.
Amit?
Yeah, I'll go next year. So I agree with everything Ken said, and I want to add a couple of points here. And you, Eric, you mentioned technology. So in the technology world, every year you get more for less and faster, in a faster time frame, right? So Eric mentioned that I started in the Bluetooth. The Bluetooth at the time, I mean, that was 30 years ago. It was about $10 for the chip of Bluetooth, and we were struggling to try to take it down to $5. I don't know if you know to guess how much Bluetooth costs today, but it's sub 1 cent, right? I mean, so it's like fractional of an error of the cost of the product. And the only industry that every year it's more expensive, less quality, and it takes longer, it's the home. And it's really because exactly to that point, which is the extensive labor involved in the home construction. And this labor is becoming in shortage. To try to accomplish more with less people, less trained. The seriously trained people are already out of the industry, have been retired. And there's only one way to solve for it, like we solve for everything else in the world, technology. Now, it's an industry that is slightly more difficult to change with technology because for 100 years, there was no progression, so we tried to make a huge leapfrog. It's like a 100 years leapfrog, right? I mean, we build the same way, and now we need to move to a new dimension, a new world. But the industry is ready for the change. And the reason it's ready for the change is because we hit the cliff, we have hit the wall. We have no option, or we must change. Otherwise, we're not going to have homes for our children. Jason?
I won't disagree with either of these two gentlemen. Certainly, the old story on the labor front, the old story of my grandfather was a bricklayer, I was a bricklayer, and now, or my father was a bricklayer, now I'm going to become a bricklayer. That story is like increasingly less common. There are, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you do know, the average age of a building subcontractor is decades older than it was even maybe just 10 or 15 years ago. Hanging sheetrock and laying brick and working out on a job site is a young person's game, and young persons are not so interested in the skilled building trades anymore. So with ours, we're all about construction robotics, right? And so people often ask me, what about all these jobs you're going to displace or whatever? And it's like, if you know anywhere where there's a bunch of builders standing around with no work to do, like please send them to Texas or please send them to Lenore, I'm sure. There simply aren't enough. And so the way you get people to do the job is you raise prices, you squeeze quality. There's sort of other ways to try to make it work, but it forces us into this situation of having to choose between things that we really, really value. And what I'm very excited about is us having back on the table approaches to building that don't pit resiliency and sustainability and quality against speed and affordability. That's an unacceptable dilemma for the most advanced civilization that's ever existed. I want speed and quality and affordability and resiliency and human dignity and design freedom, and I sort of insist on it, and I think we should have every reason to be optimistic about that possibility because of there could have been 15 people on this stage. I mean, there's a remarkable amount of innovation ready to happen in this space. But what it's going to take of the building trade professionals, the architectural professionals, is what he said at the very end, which is like, we must change. And there's this strange phenomenon in human psychology where it's like better the devil you know than the one you don't or whatever. Like we're, for whatever reason, more comfortable than the problems we have than a possible new solution. We need to feel downright uncomfortable. If I offered $1 million prize to this room for someone who could invent a less resilient building material than drywall that would pass building code, none of you would win the prize. The prize would go unclaimed. It's not possible. And that's the wrong kind of innovation. We need to be innovating the other way in line with our very best and highest values as human beings. So I'm excited that I think that can happen.
Okay. Specific questions to each of you now, and we'll start in the middle. Amit, is it possible to build quality homes more affordably, faster, and more sustainably? And how can a tech-driven approach to home building address these changes?
Yeah, it's a great question which I've been asked and getting asked a lot. And the short answer is innovation. The long answer is what really is innovation. And we many times think about innovation as the innovative approach to solve for a problem. True innovation is to eliminate the problem, because many times we don't solve for the right problem. So what are the three biggest problems of the current construction industry? It's framing in general, which is a very labor-intensive and very skilled labor and very unprecise process. It's the finishing of the home that takes forever, and that's where we always kind of cutting short, right? Because we already need to finish the project, and the entire MEP. What if we can eliminate those three problems and start to think about things very, very differently? What if we can build walls that never need to be finished because the material is finished up front. What if we can do MEP system that does not require trades? We don't need electrician, plumber, fire sprinklers, low voltage, and HVAC, and I probably forgot another couple of those, ducting, etc. And by using innovation, we're actually looking to solve for the right problem versus the probable problem, right? And that's how we do innovation pretty much in everything else, and that's why it is possible. You can do better, cheaper, faster, sustainable, accommodate any design, not in a linear way, by implementing technologies. Lucky enough, everything was invented for us already. The technology is out there. The data scientist is out there. The material scientist is out there. We just need to bring everything together, solving the right problems, and then, yes, can be done.
Okay. Ken, you started to get into it a little bit, but maybe give you an opportunity to expand a little bit more on the Renco system. And how was it invented, and where are you building? What are you building? You saw a couple pictures. Why don't you help us understand that?
So Renco was invented back in 2011 by our partner, and basically the story goes, he was involved in some composite SIP panels here in this country, but then he got involved back in Turkey doing real estate development during our last crash around 2008, 2009, and discovered a gentleman over there that was actually fabricating manhole covers, of all things, out of composites. And he just started to gut thinking, why don't we build buildings out of composites? Doesn't make any sense to him. And, the story goes basically, he saw Legos and had the idea, why can't you do an adult-sized Lego? So our products are molded. Again, they're made from calcite and polymers and recycled glass and recycled plastic, so that's all very good, sustainable. We have a very low carbon footprint. When you compare to conventional wood or structural steel or concrete type systems. So from the green side, we check those boxes very well. But above all that, you come up with a very expensive material in a factory setting, and then you take all the labor out of the equation, and then it's actually installed in the field by unskilled, inexpensive labor. And that's where the cost savings and the speed savings are. So that's why we do what we've done. We've built over 200 projects in the Middle East, all types of building types, warehouses, municipal buildings, apartment buildings, retail centers, that kind of thing. We got our approvals right before COVID in the fall of 2019. We purchased a project site in West Palm Beach, 5-acre site. We're going to put 100 market rate apartments on that site, and then we got put on hold for a year. We started the project back up last spring and have since built 2 of the buildings, again, with unskilled labor. And that's our first beta project here in this country. And we've actually been able to ferret out our own issues, make sure that the project works really well, the products work well together. Everything's adhesively joined. There's no added concrete. There's no added reinforcement. And it makes for a very sustainable and strong system.
Thank you. And Jason, with regard to 3D printing, what needs to happen to the technology to enable you to build larger developments? It's a 2-part question. And what is the economic impact of 3D construction printing and the growth potential?
Okay, I'll try to answer all that.
Take your time.
The technology, thank you. I almost got pretty excited there. The technology, it absolutely works. Some of the visuals you saw today were from a project 2 years ago, which was at that moment ready to be for sale in a really exciting city like Austin, get a mortgage, pass all the inspections, pass appraisals. We've come a long way actually in the last 2 years. If any of you are in Austin during South by in March, we're unveiling sort of the latest version of the technology with a show house of here's what we can do today. I think you are going to be blown away with all the progress we've made in the last 12 months. The technology in the first instance is now absolutely ready for scale. So the other thing we've been doing is we've built and are continuing to build out a factory. So we will be creating dozens of these very large scale construction systems in the coming year, and we're just ready to begin scaling that part of our business. Presently, our construction system builds single-story homes up to about 3,000 or 4,000 square feet, kind of depending on the layout and the size of the house. And so the next stop is taking the sort of the basic subsystems that made all that possible and moving to multi-story construction. And I am dead serious, team. The path from where we are today to like robotic construction of neighborhoods is sooner and faster than you think. We are doing our first 100-home project in the Austin area with Lennar this year. Breaks ground in about 60 days, depending on the final paperwork kind of getting across the line here. There's going to be an entire neighborhood of 3D printed homes designed by Bjarke Ingels. If you guys are familiar with architecture in here, it's going to be the most affordable Bjarke Ingels houses on the face of the earth. It'll be some of the most affordable houses in the Austin area, and it'll be some of the most fantastic houses ever delivered by the Lennar organization. Like, we are ready, and it is time to like rapidly scale this. 4 years ago, we delivered the first permitted 3D printed building to our knowledge in the world. So that was like, our run rate was like one house per year. The last 2 years, we've averaged about a house per month out of our company. This year, we will deliver about 150 homes. So we're about a house every 2 to 3 days out of these robots. Our goal is within the next 12 months to hit a one house per day run rate. And then it's a house per minute, and then it's a house per second. And at a house per second, you've got a shot at solving the global housing crisis in our lifetime. There's about 1 billion home shortage in the world. It's a big number. To make it more depressing, that means if we built 1 million homes per year, Lennar's the greatest, fastest, best builder in the world right now. I think they do like 60 or 70,000 homes per year. At 1 billion home shortage, if you did 1 million per year, it would take you 1,000 years. That's 950 years too long. And there simply aren't enough humans working fast. We simply have to switch to robotic construction, and we know how to mass produce large machines, tractors, cars, trucks, you name it. You need an order of magnitude fewer robotic construction systems than the number of cars Ford produces every year out working in the world, and the global housing crisis gets solved in our lifetime. You will see it with your own eyeballs. And so that's what needs to happen. We have to scale up. What are the things blocking the scale up? The whole freaking industry is optimized to support the methods we have today. Nothing that you need on a 3D printed job site is available to you at Home Depot. All of the codes, there's like, this is maybe overly technical, but like the codes for like how a soffit gets installed on a home in Austin, Texas, it completely has a stick frame home in mind. I don't need a soffit on my wall system in that exact way. And so like, that's going to be the blocker, is like everything, all the economies of scale, all the support services, all of the original equipment manufacturers that go into the fit and finish and remodeling of a home. We're really talking about remaking an entire industry. But isn't that what it's going to take after all? Like, this industry is not delivering, and not out of wickedness. We just sort of reached the limits of the present approaches and technologies. Like, but it is 2022. Like, where is Wakanda? Like, where is Rivendell? Like, where is the world we should have as the most advanced civilization? Like, these houses are way too expensive. We don't even like them. It's going to take a little courage and a little bravery. And it seems maybe at the end of the day, the only thing that will really stop us is the will to do the thing that is necessary, because the technologies are here, and they work, and they're producing fantastic buildings and homes. So we need your help, baby. It's like the shortest answer.
Wow, okay. Just about answered my next question for everybody, but
Okay.
Ken, where do you see home building in 50 years from now?
I think
know where
Jason's right onto something there. It's going to be very slow to change. I wish it weren't. Our process alone took us 10 years to get to where we are today. It was invented over a decade ago. The regulatory environment, what it takes to actually get an idea through the system, to get people to recognize it, to get it tested, to make sure yourself that it actually works, that it meets these codes. I mean, we've got something that termites don't eat. So is that a really good thing? Down here in South Florida, it sure is. Meets wind loads, meets seismic requirements. So where's the industry going? I think it's going to turn. It has to. Labor is way too expensive in this country, and it has to turn for something better. And the more automated you can get on any of these systems, the better off we're going to be.
Amit, why don't you take a shot at that one?
Yeah, definitely. So since a lot have been said, which I fully agree with, I'm going to add another angle to that. So we already discussed about the fact that we are not going to have homes for our children or grandchildren. And this is before the 50 million homes in the US, which are going to be out of commission in 20 years from now, right? Because they've been built in the past 70 years. We have another problem. We just put Earth on death row, and we can still fix it. The construction industry or the home, the housing, generating 38% of the carbon footprint. And that's a huge 38%, just along the housing. And we can change this one significantly by reducing energy consumption, but making truly smart homes that can actually manage and understand what's going on and not wasting. True passive home and using materials with significant less carbon footprint versus many other materials that are being used in the industry. In particular, wood and concrete are one of the most polluting materials out there. Now, I agree with Ken. We need to work on the code. We need to get collaboration, to have collaboration with the regulatory, with the municipals, with the states. But I feel like things are happening. I mean, California in particular, very, very advanced, already pushing Title 24 like crazy, the Sustainably code, forcing to have solar panels, talking about making some concrete illegal in the state, eliminating gas. I mean, so things are going toward the right direction, and this is the opportunity for us. But this is kind of the last minute to solve for this problem, both the humanity and Earth.
You want to add to what you already said? Can you top it?
We're 50 years from now. If we haven't solved the global housing crisis 50 years from now, it's our own fault. That's for sure. My short answer, as you guys already know, is robots. But let me unpack that maybe a little bit more to help you. What having robots in the loop, you sort of probably have an intuitive sense of what that will do for speed and cost. What's maybe not so intuitive is what it allows, is actually what it unleashes in terms of human potential. Because what that leaves for humans to do at the building trade is the much more creative and human side of the work. I have built homes. Depending on how long you're at it, hanging, taping, floating, and texturing sheetrock can be a very inhuman job in Texas. And so if we can offload the repetitive, manual, dangerous, expensive, slow tasks onto the backs of robots and liberate the humans who are in the built environment to do what humans do best, which is imagination, creativity, freedom. I have a sense of it because I think about it a lot. I'm sort of the house that we're going to unveil in South by, I really wanted to show at this conference, and my head of marketing and communications, her name is Brooke. She's actually my boss, and she told me I couldn't show it to you guys. But I think it would give you a taste of, like, with a robot, for instance, a straight curved line or straight sort of more organic form is the same price and time to print as a straight line. I want you to think of what that might mean for architecture. And when you move to cold climates, the way you get those buildings more energy efficient, if you're concerned about the environment, my undergrad training was in conservation biology. If you're concerned about making buildings more energy efficient, passive house is sort of the gold standard. It really does come down to R value and ceiling, and R value is about thickness. With conventional building methods, to make a wall twice as thick, you need twice as many materials, and so it doubles the cost to do the right thing. Which is what I'm talking about. We're sort of pitting these things. With a robotic form of construction, at least in this case 3D printing, to make the wall twice as thick is a slight software change, and then 4 extra inches of printing in the Y direction. And for a rounding error of cost, you are now passive house in any climate zone on Earth, and it doesn't add a penny. Imagine being able to get passive house buildings without adding a penny to the cost. and you're getting features of architecture and form that are usually reserved for the very highest end of homes. And then like maybe sort of one more imaginative example would be related to the idea of curves and slopes. You all know if I had a piece of paper ever, I'd love to make it. Can I have a piece of paper? Amazing.
Please, I hope I never see it again.
Okay, perfect. So if I stand this paper up, you guys know it's going to fall down. And that's the end of my magic trick. I'm joking. If I put curves in the paper, like so, my paper stands up. I'm talking to architects. You guys already know this. That's very expensive to do with every conventional construction method. It costs a robot nothing to do this, and all of a sudden you have a home or a building that's going to bear up under hurricane load winds. Here we are in Miami. For no additional cost. How much do you have to, right now, do you have to spend to upgrade a building to Miami-Dade building codes? What if it was as simple as like changing the software? And everybody in Miami-Dade County gets to keep their home in a hurricane. And you get design freedom, and you get passive house energy levels, and it's just very exciting. And that's what I want humans thinking about. What are our values? Our values are sustainability. Our values are beauty. Our values are resiliency and community. Let the robots do the hard work. I want humans doing the creative, imaginative work to build a world in line with the things that we value. And that's what I hope that we have accomplished in the end of my life. I talk about 1 billion homes a lot at Icon, and so like there's this running joke at Icon. So we're going to build 1 billion homes, and then Jason can die. And so I don't know if it's a compliment or what, but I think that's the opportunity in front of us. And what a privilege it is to work in the built environment. We create the world. We create the world. And what a high honor and a high privilege. And to take that so seriously. Yeah, I think we should take it super seriously. In tech, as these guys know, a lot of people talk about like, we're going to build the world, we're going to build the future.
Enough.
Okay. We're going to do it.
Jason's not passionate.
I have opinions, and if you don't like them, I have others.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chuck, we can keep going, or we can get into some questions.
I can toss in a couple of comments.
Please do. Thank you, Chuck.
You know, in your program booklet, on the 10 years section, there's a QR code with an app. You can submit questions. Some of you have already figured this out. So I've got some questions here for you guys. All right, so I bought my Icon Veev Renco home. I'm a happy homeowner. You guys go away, and a couple years down the road, either me or my wife don't like where that door is. As we're sitting at home now, it's like, I don't really like that bathroom anymore, which turns into a terrible conversation, right, and leads to a lot of work. How easy or difficult is it for the home handy person to modify your buildings without calling you back?
Maybe I'll start. So a very core concept of our system was designed for maintainability, sustainability, and upgradability. So this is the first time you have home that can be maintained and upgraded forever. Putting aside that you might never need to maintain it, this is actually a maintenance-free home. So we are using material, obviously the steel as part of it. Speaking of termites, good luck with steel. But not only on that. I mean, our walls are basically covered with a material which is called HPS, high-performance surfaces. It's within the same family of solid surface, corian, etc. Antibacterial material, non-stained, cannot be stained, cannot be scratched, mold-free, waterproof, and we really brought it to a level that those things can be maintained forever. Furthermore, using digital twin, which basically, I mean, a lot of you guys are architects here, so you're familiar with the term. We know precisely what's going on in the home. Every single bolt, every single wire, every single connector, exactly why it's there, what's doing for, what's the location, etc. So next time when you need to fix something in the home, or you want to remodel your kitchen or your bathroom, it's really just ordering online based on the knowledge of everything in place. I mean, there was nothing that was figured out in the field by a particular carpenter or finishing carpenter or whatever it is. Everything is precisely done in a way that actually everything can be precisely replaced. We didn't invent it. That's what happened in the smartphone industry, in the car industry, in the aerospace industry, pretty much anywhere on Earth other than the housing industry. So maintainability, upgradability is a very important concept, and everything was designed up front in order to support 50, 100 years lifetime. Although I'm not liable in 1 year from now, 100 years from now, sorry, not 1 year, 100 years from now.
So we're on board with Amit. Renco is going to provide an opportunity to provide a completely new asset class, maintenance-free. Our materials don't rust, they don't rot, termites won't eat them, mold won't grow in them. So really good system. So what's the life point of this? I don't know. We really don't know at this point because it's only been around for 10 years. And if you look at design and construction and all the standards that are there, they're all based on history. Seismic issues, they're all based on history. Where was the last earthquake? What did it do to the structures that were there? So how do we improve this, or how do you renovate in the future? It's really quite simple. We're one mold away from your next dream. So if you want to do a curve or you want to do something that's not rectilinear, it's very easy. We have adapters that adapt to existing structures, so it doesn't even have to be a Renco home, but we do have to connect our structure to the existing structure. So it's a simple solution, and they can accommodate that.
My answer is fairly short, which is we've been building like concrete and masonry buildings for a very, very long time in our case, or in the case of the materials we're working with, and the way that you remodel, repair, upgrade them is like fairly well understood. So I'll tell a funny story instead of a clear answer. We were 3D printing the first house we ever 3D printed, and we had to unveil at South by, and South by was like 72 hours away, and we had just finished, and we're like, thank God, and we tried to turn everything off. It was just like an unbelievable kind of push to get it done. And like all new technologies, something went awry, and we had accidentally developed, unbeknownst to us at the time, what quickly became apparent was a demolition mode. And so the top few layers that we had printed, the printer like lowered the X-beam and then like plowed into the house that we had just printed and like destroyed like 8 layers. And like we have to get the house done. The short story is we repaired it very quickly. And if you go to the house today, and if you come to Austin, I'm happy to take you there, I will challenge you to find the spot on the house that was patched. And I'm talking about, 3D printing has the beads, right? It was patched not with a 3D printer. And I challenge you to find the beads, or the spot on the wall that was patched. You can't do it. And so we had this problem put to the test very early in our history in a very scary way, and it all worked out. So that's my story.
So, all right, here's another one. Someone thinks you must be having interesting conversations with local building inspectors. What's been the reaction of building inspectors? Is there a learning curve, and how do you advance that?
I'll go first. I don't mind.
Jump right in, Ken.
We're building our first project in West Palm Beach. It's being looked at by the building official, a very friendly group up there, and they wanted to, here we are back again. Very friendly group that wanted to be involved in our project. The village itself wanted to be involved in our project because they wanted to be first, like we do. There's nothing to inspect when we erect Renco. The only thing that people need to understand is, are you using glue in the right places? So, as part of our entitlement process, we had to give a guarantee that, yes, we're going to have a third party come in and do the inspection because nobody's seen this before. And we pled to them. We said, listen, there's nothing to look at here. There's no trades in the way while we're building. We build the structure. It just needs to be glued. And if the materials, if you don't pound them down on top of each other, all we use is a 2-pound mallet and a glue gun, they won't seat properly and you can't erect the next layer. So there's actually nothing to look at. So DeSimone Engineering has been with us since beginning of time, as is Architectonica, 2 world-renowned firms that have helped us through the process and helped us develop the products and ultimately the project. So we've had no inspection issues on that site as a result.
Yeah, I'll add a bit about it. The system we chose is actually panelized system where the panels are fully finished in our factory, including the MEP. So actually the inspection is done in the factory under the code of the house building code of the state. It's done by the state, but actually by a third-party lab that is being hired by the state. Specifically, it's NTA, a subsidiary of the ICC. This lab is actually becoming more like of our quality control process in the factory itself, in the fab. I mean, so it's part of the quality control team, and there's zero inspection on the field. I mean, other than foundation inspection and the very finishing inspection, there's really no inspection. Exactly to that point, there's no trades. Furthermore, there's no even MEP trades. So it's all being inspected in the factory. There's beautiful, nice red sticker on each one of those walls. And when it's arrived to the site and the municipal decide to try to inspect something, the red sticker tells them, go away.
My experience trying to get 3D houses, for 3D printed houses permitted in Austin was interesting. It was very surprising to them at the beginning 4 years ago. But now we've really, the city has really embraced us and is very excited about what we're doing because they have housing challenges. But the first time I walked into the permitting office at the city of Austin and told them I wanted to 3D print a house, they looked at me like a cow staring at a shut gate, and they did not know. They thought they were being pranked. They were like looking for what the joke was. And so we had to hold their hand the first few times and get them through it. But a lot of these more innovative, resilient, automated approaches to construction really do allow us to start rethinking the whole permitting and certification process. This is a result of humans in the loop. Humans make mistakes. Humans text their partner. Humans have a few beers the night before. Humans got to get off to go catch the game, and mistakes get made. The inspectors are not evil people. We're trying to make sure the houses are in good shape. We specifically designed our robots to not drink beer, to not text their partner. They just run the code. And that changes the way. And by the way, we have a video file, a continuous video file of every house we print. So if you want to know what happened when that electrical outlet went in, you search it and you pull up the video of that exact moment. You can see exactly what happened. And so it is going to allow us to rethink permitting because my favorite neighborhoods in Austin were built in the 1950s and 1960s, Bolden Creek, Zilker, Barton Hills, for those of you who are familiar with Austin. During that time period, you could walk into the permitting office and walk out with a permit that very moment. And we built the best houses in town. It now takes weeks and months to get a permit in Austin, and I'll tell you what, it has not improved the situation. And so my hope is that some of these kinds of innovations are going to allow us to rethink the doom loop of permitting and regulation right now.
One more, and then you can roll with it. So, all right, Lennar is clearly on board. What about other large home builders and multifamily development companies? What questions or hesitation do the non-adopters have? When will this become a competitive disadvantage to be a non-adopter?
I'll go first on this one. You all are so fortunate to have Lennar here. They are far and away the most innovative, inspiring, big-hearted, large-scale builder and community maker in the entire space. Y'all should lean on them and take advantage. Sounds mean. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all have a huge resource here. We have worked with other builders, developers. Most of them simply don't care, and I'm looking forward to putting them out of business. And I'm looking forward to the folks who operate like Lennar growing and flourishing in a world where we're trying to build to our highest values, because I do think eventually, if you're too late to the party, it's going to be a disadvantage.
More.
So,
You can pay me later.
so since Jason exhausted a lot of this part, I'm going to double down. We couldn't choose a better partner than Lennar. And first time I met Stuart and Eric about 2.5 years ago on a breakfast, and they didn't believe a word I said. Later on, they realized why. But since then, it started. I mean, these guys just get it. They realize there is a problem. They understand the need to invest in technology, and they need to figure out how to do things differently. And the amount of support we get from Lennar is incredible. Furthermore, once Lennar on board, everyone else is coming to sniff around. So Lennar, and I'm going to use a good Jewish statement here, it's the kosher stamp. Once Lennar on board and they provide us this stamp, from everyone else's perspective, it's that due diligence done. Those guys know what the issue is. Lennar never chose all the other companies out there, without mentioning particular names. Some of them filed bankruptcy, that never managed to put it together. So this is really, we are so lucky Jason and I were so lucky to have Lenore on board and in this partnership. Thank you.
So Lenore would certainly validate the Renco system. We would welcome nothing more than that. I can tell you in South Florida, we live in a concrete world. Everything's concrete here just because of the wind loads. You get above St. Lucie County, things start to go back to wood. And I venture to guess pretty much the rest of the United States is manufactured with wood. I'm sure all of you have checked lumber futures in the past. They were as high as $1,700, 1,000 board feet about 9 months ago. They got as high as $1,300. This is all up from $325, 1,000 board feet. There's not a developer out there that we've been talking to that isn't interested in new technology in these systems because of the costs associated with existing antiquated systems. So we see an opportunity for everybody on this stage, the 12 other people that couldn't be here, great market, and we're just thrilled to be a part of it.
Great. So thank you, Chuck, and the University of Miami for having us, for putting this incredible event together. University of Miami does an amazing job of connecting, bringing things together, connecting dots. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that another connecting point for the University of Miami is what they do with the Miami Dolphins. Tomorrow, many of us in here will be participating in the Dolphins Challenge Cancer event. It's the 12th annual event. Unfortunately, I'm riding 100 miles with many of you. We've done an amazing job raising a lot of money for cancer research. 100% of the money that we raise goes right here to Sylvester. And we're so blessed to have the most amazing cancer center right here in our backyard. So if you haven't, dig deep into your pockets and support someone that you know that is participating. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of today's event.